Good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Sunday. Really hope that you're doing well in your part of the world. I'm doing really good. I've been up since about 4 in the morning. I went out to the dog park. Beautiful day outside where I live. So I'm off to a good start. I hope that you are also off to a good start and that you're safe in your part of the world. It's Sunday, which is wonderful because Sunday is usually when I like to do some sort of instructional content on my webs or on this channel on all my platforms. Now, for the last few weeks, we've been doing the Introduction to Statistical Learning book, right? This book here, which I think many of you are already familiar with. So for better or worse, that actually came to an end. You know, it was actually a bittersweet end last week when that came to an end, because I thought that we were doing really well with it. I was really enjoying the time that we were all spending together, but we got it. We got all 8 sessions. We got through 10 chapters. So I'm really proud of all of us for getting through that. And those of you who are on Twitch, YouTube, or X might see that loop running. I run that loop overnight because it's 20 hours of content. And I know it's hard for people to get caught up. So I run it so that people can view it, you know, kind of at their own pace, go back and forth with it and, you know, learn and, you know, kind of pick up little things here and there. That's why I run it on a loop, and people seem to have been enjoying that. So I'm going to keep on doing that. But now it opens up our Sundays to do something else. So I've had these ideas of just like little instructional things I've been wanting to do. You know, maybe things that aren't series per se. They're just fun little instructionals that I think would be cool to teach, and that ultimately would help you, because again, my whole point is to show you things that are real world, right? And some of these instructional things that I have in mind are definitely real world in terms of things that I've done, things that I've seen out there in the field. So ultimately it should, you know, benefit you too. So that's really kind of what I'm hoping to do on Sundays. And by the way, if there's a topic that you're interested in or something that you're curious about, you know, let me know. If I find it interesting, you know, I might consider doing a tutorial on it. But ultimately, what I'm really trying to kind of cultivate here is I'm going to show you the things that I would personally be working on if I'm home alone, you know, and just kind of, you know, wanting to sharpen my skills, you know, and sharpen the saw, as we say here in the US. These are the things that I would be doing at home, you know, whether I was streaming or not. These are the types of things that make me curious and make me kind of just say, hey, let me investigate this further, or hey, I need to refine my skills here, or, you know, whatever that case may be. That's what I'm trying to convey, you know, kind of create that atmosphere of, well, you know, this is what I would be doing, you know, if I was at home developing my skills, wanting to work on different things. So that's what I'm trying to do. We're going to be doing that every Sunday. And today, specifically, I want to do some experimentation around GPU usage versus CPU. It's something that I've only done a little bit of in my career. And the reason for that, and maybe this is something we should establish from the very beginning, do not fall into the trap of thinking that you have to have GPU for your data science exploration. I hear that a lot. I hear that in various ways. Some of it is just plain wrong, unfortunately, and some of it is just a little bit of hype and not really understanding the differences. But let me be clear on this. You can get pretty dang far in your data science development without a GPU. There is absolutely nothing wrong with CPUs. Okay? You shouldn't view GPUs as a requirement for data science, and 2, you shouldn't view them as a replacement for CPU. Trust me, there's a lot of models out there running on CPU. Plenty of models out there running on CPU. So don't get caught up in the hype and the NVIDIA and this and that. GPUs are still plenty powerful. Okay. Some of that work can be elevated by going to GPU, certainly accelerated by going to GPU. But I don't want anyone here thinking that, GPU is superior, GPU is a requirement, I can't proceed without a GPU. Forget that. I've worked on plenty of very, very large, significant models, and they're still CPU, right? So don't let anybody tell you differently. I'm not going to name names, but I remember somebody in my comments or maybe even on the live chat had also said something like, well, I like using notebooks now, and I use Jupyter notebooks, and I don't want to leave notebooks because I don't have a GPU. Okay. So those are really like the plain wrong opinions that I also want to kind of make sure that we talk about. Because just because you leave notebooks doesn't mean you have to go to GPU either. Okay. GPUs and notebooks and CPUs are not tied together. Those are three completely different technologies, three completely different tools for data science, okay? So again, not trying to single anybody out, but if in case that myth is out there, I want to go ahead and put that to rest, because a simple IDE, a simple terminal window, and just your basic CPU can take you very, very far in data science. You would have to do a lot of work in data science in order to be able to outwork everything involved with, a simple setup like I just described. Okay. But what I do want to do is I do know that I have a Mac. My lab includes my personal lab at home is primarily driven by a Mac Mini. It's an M1 chip, and I know that the GPU is accessible on the M1 chip, because if you look at the Apple marketing, they specifically say that they are trying to enable data science and machine learning on the M1 chips, and certainly with the M3 chips since then, right? Because keep in mind, the M1 is the early generation. It's the first one. I got this Mac Mini back in 2020. So it's an older Mac Mini by now. I'm actually thinking of upgrading. So, but even back then, the marketing literature said that they had intended it for people to access it for machine learning. So that's what I'm trying to focus on. And I want to access it. To full disclosure, I tooled around with it one time for like 20 minutes. So in case today totally goes wrong, I have a backup method we can explore. But my intent is for us to rely solely on ChatGPT. We're going to let ChatGPT guide us. We're going to let ChatGPT let us get into the M1 GPU side. And then we're going to work on a model that we're going to use as a baseline. And we're going to say, if I run the same model against my GPU, this is what happens. If I run it against my CPU, this is what happens, right? So that's all I want to do, just some simple baselines, right? That's really all I want to accomplish. So let me acknowledge the chat, because I love seeing you guys in the chat. So thank you so much. First in our chat today, and by the way, if you are listening, I know I'm getting a lot of viewers on X now. So if you're on X or any of the other platforms, please go ahead and just let us know where you're from, or just say hello. I try to make my chats inclusive. You don't have to be some amazing data scientist to participate. Just let us know. Just let us know how you're doing. Okay. So Yassine, our good friend Yassine from Tangier, Morocco, is first today. Welcome, Yassine. So glad to see you. Hope you're doing well out there in Tangier. Fatima, wow, 2 people from Morocco are first today. Fatima says, hey, sir. Hey, Fatima, how are you? Fatima from Meekness out there. Good to see you, Fatima. Hope that you're doing well. Rex, our good friend Rex. Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm Rex from New York City. Rex, thank you so much for holding down the fort over there on Twitch. Really appreciate you. Anise says, hello, everyone. Hello, Dennis. Welcome back, Anise. Hope that you're doing well. Rex says, so you're saying I have a chance with my integrated Ryzen 5 card. I don't know how accessible that GPU is, but maybe, right? And that's part of it today, right? That I have this supposed GPU capability here that I just haven't used, so I need to make better use of that. Like, I should be embarrassed, right? But yeah, so maybe you do, Rex. Maybe you can follow some of the similar frameworks that we're going to lay out today, okay? 007, let us know where you're from, okay? Today is not really a day when I take questions. Sunday is more about the classes. And also, one of 007, I think it's your first time here, and I am getting a lot of new followers, so you should know that my goal here is not to have people pass jobs. I'm not here to help you pass the interview. Go see somebody else for that. I'm here to create data science professionals. That's really my goal here, right? So I appreciate your question, but focus on becoming a data science professional, not passing the interview, and I guarantee you everything will come easier, okay? Patrick, we were going to send a search party for you. We thought you were missing. Patrick says, good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Patrick. Hope you're doing well. I'm assuming that junior college you go to is just really beating you down with your studies or something, Patrick, so I hope you're well. Anas, let us know where you're from, okay? And again, I really don't take questions on Sundays. It's really more about the tutorials. Atharva, good to see you again, Atharva. Good morning, Dennis. Good to see you, Atharva. Nice to see you back. Choraichi, that's right, Choraichi, you've been here before. How are you? Hey, sir, hope you're doing great. Fadwa from Casablanca, Morocco. Nice. Again, a lot of Moroccans in my chat. Casablanca is beautiful. I love it. I love the Corniche out there. All right, good to see some engagement from X. Guys, on Friday afternoon, I had just broken about 1,000 followers on X. I had about like 1,020 followers on X. And Friday night, my posts went crazy. And this morning, I have over 6,000 followers on X. So it's been a crazy, crazy weekend for X. Like, I literally 6x'd my followers on there. So, yeah, I might post my graphs from X, because if you want to see something that went like semi-viral, I have like this massive spike in my analytics. But thank you so much to all the new X followers. And if you're watching on X, don't be shy. Just let us know where you're from. Try to make it an inclusive data science community. So just let us know, okay? K Sib says you are doing God's work. Thank you. I don't know about that. That's a tremendous compliment. Thank you. I'm just doing what I love. I'm passionate about data science. I'm just doing what I love. Benjamin, hello everyone. I'm Benjamin from Ghana. Benjamin, thank you so much for introducing yourself. I think it's your first time, so welcome. Glad to see people from Africa. I get a few viewers from Ghana. I see Ghana in my analytics quite a bit, so thanks a lot. Okay, Kay is from Zimbabwe via South Africa. Nice, very cool. I get a lot of Northern Africa, but not a lot of Southern Africa. So nice to see you. Glad you're here, Kay. Satyam, our good friend Satyam, happy Sunday, Dennis from Delhi, India. Cool, nice to see you back again, Satyam. Hope you're well out there. Bishwas, our good friend from Nepal. How are you, Bishwas? Hope you're doing well. Javier, I think it's your first time. Thanks for the introduction. Hi everyone. Javier from Mexico and Madrid. Wow, that's two completely different places, but nice to see you here. Welcome. Hamid, you're back. How are you, my good friend? Hi, sir. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I'm doing really well. It's a nice day out. I took my dog for a walk. I'm going to relax a little bit later. On Sundays, I usually call my niece and my nephews, because they're both in college, they're away from home. So on Sundays, I usually call my nephews. I'm looking forward to the call later today. But yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Evans from X. Welcome, Evans. Nice to see all the new X followers. Please go ahead and introduce yourself. Love to have more engagement from X. Like I said, I have multiplied all of my followers on X by 6. So it's been crazy this weekend here. But good to see you here, Kevin Evans. Welcome. Barath, I'm from Chicago. Nice. Welcome, Barath. Barath, I don't think it's your first time. I think you've been here before, but welcome. YMZL, hello, sir. Greetings from Indonesia. Beautiful country. I was there last August. Can you suggest where I can learn data science from scratch? You're in the right place. You're in the right place. Keep on coming back. We're going to do a tutorial today. You can get used to my teaching style and how the community works. And if you like it, keep on coming back. You're in the right place to learn data science. Soul Eater says South Africa has entered the chat once again. Okay. Okay, we got Moroccans from North Africa. We got South Africans from South Africa. From Zimbabwe, I believe, is also South Africa. All right, cool. We're getting a balance of the African continent here. Welcome. Love to see it. And Soul Leader, I think it's your first time, so thank you for coming. Ali says hi from Lebanon. Oh, very cool. Hi, Ali. Nice to see you. I think it's your first time, so thank you so much. All right, guys. Great introductions. I love the variety in the chat. We have people from all over the world, all different types of platforms. You can see them displayed by the little icons. Skiu says, hi, sir. I'm from India. Welcome, Skiu. Nice to see you. By the way, guys, real quickly, if you're on Instagram, I'm about to post a link to the YouTube widescreen. Because some people, when I do the tutorials, some people find it easier to view on YouTube. So if you're on Instagram right now, you're welcome to stay on Instagram. But I also posted over the link on YouTube. That way you can see the widescreen, because what I want to do is I want to switch to the classroom view. And that way, you know, I have more space to work with. I can lay out what we're going to do. And then I'll bring up the code, bring up the terminal, and we'll go from there. All right. All right. So, Soul Leader really quickly says, yes, definitely stumbled upon the career path of quantitative analyst, and I'm hooked on learning to. Cool. You're in the right place. Just keep on coming back. We have a great community. We also have a Discord channel. So you're in the right place if you want to learn real world data science. I don't sell any cheap courses. I don't give you guys any of those promises of becoming a data science in 2 months. You know, we take a professional attitude towards data science here. So thanks for being here. All right, so let's get going, yeah? So to start, I really like this whiteboard feature that I used for the last tutorial. So I'm gonna go ahead and use it again. And let's go ahead and bring in some elements. What I wanna do is I wanna lay out the goals that we have for today's session, okay? And, you know, I don't wanna get too crazy with this, not gonna spend too much time on this, but basically just kind of lay out like a guide for us, right? And I would usually do this in my head, you know, where I usually like, you know, I'm somebody who really works off a lot of checklists, right? So I like to just kind of think about, okay, well, here's the problem I want to solve. And I see steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and just kind of develop it from there, right? So what do we want to do here, right? Our overall goal is to, 1, use Chat GPT for all code and assistance, right? We always do that. 2, access the GPU capabilities of the M1 chip while using Python, right? Because we want to make sure we're accessing it via Python, because I'm sure there's other programs or other things that access it, right? And 3, we are going to let's see, create a model that we can use to baseline or to do performance comparisons. 4, get performance from CPU and GPU. And that's it, right? That's all we want to do today. Let me close this out. I'm getting feedback that it should be zoomed in. Can everybody see that okay? Do you need it zoomed in? Let me know. What do you guys think? All right. So step 1 is going to be, all right, zoomed in would be helpful. So, how's that, guys? Is that good? Let me know. Patrick says perfect. Okay, cool. Thanks for the feedback, guys. So 1, ask ChatGPT which frameworks it knows. And then that requires good prompting on our side, right? And then 2, might have to do some library installs. I'm assuming that's going to be a requirement. And 3, very important here, don't break my machine. Right? That's my fear here. Or anytime we're fooling around with this type of code, things could go wrong, right? So if the stream dies out all of a sudden, then you guys know my computer screwed up, okay? But hopefully that won't happen. Okay. For step 2, what do we need to do? Oh no, I don't know. All right. For step 2, we're gonna need a model, right? But we need a model. So here's my underlying thesis, guys, for today. In order to really see like a difference between CPU and GPU, we're gonna have to write a fairly large model, right? Because like I said, CPU is very, very capable, right? Don't let anybody tell you differently. So we're not gonna see like a significant difference on smaller models. We're probably gonna need a much bigger model to be able to say, oh, okay, now we're starting to see the difference. So my gut tells me that we're gonna need a large model, and when we're talking about large models like that, we're usually talking about like a neural network, right? So let's work with that underlying thesis. And if you guys have, if you guys think differently, let me know in the comments, right? But again, a CPU is very capable, right? So we can't run these little tiny, regression models or something, because CPU and GPU will probably perform the same, right? I wouldn't anticipate like a massive difference there, right? Probably like microseconds difference, like not even milliseconds, right? So that's what I think. Let me know if you disagree or agree, but that's the underlying theory I want to work with. So create a large neural network. Might need synthetic data to do this. And then 2, run it on both CPU and GPU for performance. And we're going to keep this as 2 separate code files just to make sure we're not mixing up any code, right? Or really not mixing up any library references. And then 3, we are going to primarily use time as our base performance metric, right? I mean, that's one of the things we always talk about, right? What are you comparing against? What is the baseline you're trying to improve on, right? All right, so I think that's it, guys. Everybody on board with this? So it's kind of 2 steps, right? Make sure that we have a reliable way to access the GPU. And then we're going to make sure that we split it out. We're going to have some code for GPU, some code for CPU. We're going to create a large neural network. Might need to also create the synthetic data for it, but that's okay. We've seen ChatGPT do that for us. And run it on both sides. and let's see what the performance metrics are, right? I'm hoping we can come up with something that says, hey, by running the same model on the GPU versus CPU, we got X percentage performance better. That's what I'm hoping we can get to today, right? Because we're data scientists, right? We should have some sort of quantitative answer at the end of this exercise, right? You guys on board with that? Let me know in the chat. Okay, a couple of people said please zoom in. Okay, so everybody thinks that everything is good. Leo says good morning, everyone. Leo, good to see you. How are you? Rizwan says, hey, good evening, sir. Hey, Rizwan, nice to see you and welcome back. How are you? Rahul, our good friend Rahul from the mountains of India says, hi, Dennis. How are you doing? I'm doing well, Rahul. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well. I hope your family's doing well. But yeah, I'm doing really well. Really glad to be here on Sunday with you guys. Really glad that even though the book is over, we can still get together. We can still do instructional series. You know, that way you guys can consider Sunday's your learning day for data science, because I know you might be students or you might be working another job during the week. Sunday, take the time to invest in yourself and learn data science from, you know, somebody who kind of sort of likes doing this stuff, right? Is my mic working? Yeah, it is. Okay. See, now ever since this week, I'm all paranoid about my microphone, making sure my microphone's turned on. Mr. Ngadi, welcome. Fair enough. I believe GPU will win. Yeah, but you know what? But that's a theory, right? I mean, it's a reasonable theory, but let's find out. What if GPU only wins by 5%? Is that worth the investment? Maybe, maybe not. GPUs aren't free, right? What if GPU wins by 70%, right? Now it's like a whole other ball game, right? So I agree with you. It feels like GPU will win, but not every win's a good win, right? So that's part of the fun. That's part of the experimentation, right? So Mr. Ngadi, I like your attitude, but we got to run the experiments, right? We got to run the experiments. Sravan, welcome back, Sravan. Sravan says, good morning, Dennis. Good morning to you too. Hope you're doing well out there. All right, guys. I think we're ready for our good friend ChatGPT. All right. GPU generally will win, but it's good to prompt these dependencies you need, because I personally got stuck for 2 to 3 days. Oh, okay. Well, let's hope that's not the case here. It's certainly a possibility, right? Don't scare me, man. But yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out. Now, keep in mind, guys, I should also preface this by saying that, you know, a counter argument to today is, well, you're not really using GPU in the traditional sense. You're using the GPU capabilities of the M1 chip, which is true, right? I accept that. That's fair feedback. But listen, data science is not perfect. You got to do what you can with what you have. I don't have an NVIDIA chip. I don't have an external GPU, because I know there's some makers that make external GPUs for Macs and all that. I don't have that, right? So I'm going to do what I can with what I have, right? And we should all have that attitude with data science. I'm not going to let the lack of NVIDIA stop me. I'm going to try it, right? So I hope you guys also take inspiration from that, because, you know, like, just do what you can, guys. Do what you can. All right, Mr. Ngadi's ready. I'm ready too. Let me just acknowledge the chat, because I really appreciate your support, guys. Atharva says, the way I got introduced to your channel through the Instagram Reels, you are the first guy who's actually explaining how techniques work in real world scenarios. Thank you for that, Atharva. I appreciate that, because that's really what I'm trying to do. You know, I'm trying to bring you guys real world stuff. I completely despise all the fake influencers out there that are taking your money and preying on good people like all of you here. And I'm passionate about this stuff, you know, and I don't think it's just my real world experience that comes out. It's also my passion that comes out, because, like, I love this stuff, right? The other influencers, they're just in it for the money. They've never worked a day in data science in their lives, right? I'm just passionate, you know? And if you want to know more about real world scenarios, please consider buying my book, Your First Year in Data Science. It's on Amazon. I don't sell cheap courses. I don't ask people to send me donations. You know, that's not really my style. But, if you want to support me, my book is the best way. Really appreciate your support. Rahul says, which I get to know the exact dependencies with ChatGPT. Yeah, you're right about that, Rahul. But also keep in mind, guys, that those dependencies are going to change depending on the GPU that you're using. In a lot of cases, you're going to have to use like vendor specific libraries to access GPUs. I know it's become a lot easier and all that, right? But yeah, I can understand why you spent so much time on it, Ruhul, because it's like a rabbit hole you have to go down for every single chip that you work on, right? Or at least at the vendor level. But like I said, I did very, very brief work on this, like 5 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that. And I think I kind of sort of got it to work. But again, it was just 20 minutes. I just quickly put it away. But we'll see. We'll see. We're doing this live, guys. I'm a little scared because for all I know, we're going to fail and this will be a very short stream. All right, but let's get started, guys. So what I have so far, and again, I'm going over this for the new people. Because guys, I stress again, a professional data science environment is not notebooks. So if you come on Sundays, you are never going to see me use a notebook. I know they're popular. I know that's all you've used. I know every academic course requires you to turn in a notebook. I get it. But that's not professional data science. Professional data science is done with native code. And more specifically with programs, not scripts. There's a difference. So what I have here is I have one file to get us started. I called it GPU initiate because that's what we're going to use to test to make sure we can access the GPU. And then we'll create an additional 2 files, one for GPU testing, one for CPU testing, and go from there. Okay? And then I also have a simple terminal, right? The terminal is already pointing to where my files are. I have a simple Conda environment that I call GPU alpha, just in case we have to duplicate it and make a second one. But just keeping it real simple, guys, okay? And I'm doing this all locally. You don't need cloud, you don't need notebooks, you don't need AWS. Forget all of that. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple and learn the fundamentals of data science, okay? And then, of course, we're going to have our good friend ChatGPT. All right, let's get started, guys. I'm nervous. This will be fun. Let me make sure I keep my chat up. All right. We have to write a very specific prompt here, guys. I bought this machine in 2020, and it's an Apple M1 chip. All right, I think that's a fairly descriptive prompt. All right. What do you guys think? Do I need to zoom in? I'm getting some feedback to maybe zoom in. Is that better? Give me some feedback there, guys. Afreen, I think it's your first time here. Welcome. Let me know if that's better, guys. Zoom in is great. Great. Thank you, Patrick. Okay. All right. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Okay. So Apple Silicon M1, TensorFlow for Mac with M1. Apple provides a specialized version of TensorFlow. Here's how you can set it up. Okay. Install Conda. I have Conda. Install MiniForge. Okay. I don't think I have that. Well, okay. Well, no, actually, I do have a MiniForge because I already have an environment. Okay, so here's my installs. TensorFlow is a version. Okay, cool. So there's this TensorFlow specific for Mac OS. Ah, there it looks like it's the key. TensorFlow Metal is a plugin that enables TensorFlow to use Apple GPU via the Metal API. All right, test TensorFlow with GPU. Import TensorFlow, number of GPUs available. Okay, physical devices. Okay, here it is, guys. If this returns a number greater than 0, then TensorFlow is successfully using your M1 GPU. And the next one is talking about PyTorch. But as we know, PyTorch is for people who don't love themselves because they came from broken homes and they grew up without a father in the home. So we'll stick with TensorFlow. Okay, choosing between TensorFlow and PyTorch. There's no choice to be made there. Okay, cool, guys. Yeah, this is sounding very promising. So I think this is the keys right here. Conda install, Apple TensorFlow depths. Because I already have an environment. I already have at least Python 3.9. I think I'm using 3.11 in this environment. So yeah, I'm comfortable saying that we can just jump to here. All right, so we got to do some work in the terminal. Rahul says, haha, I love the hate for PyTorch. And you know what? I love the hate that I get back whenever I say that. Guys, you want to know a secret? You want to know a secret, guys? Right now, look at this. I love this. Leo says, why is PyTorch describing my life? That was very harsh, Mr. PyTorch. Oh my God. I'll tell you something, guys. All right. I've been having great growth on YouTube. Okay. But right now, overnight, I guarantee you, I could get 100,000 subscribers. I could have a silver play button tomorrow if all I did was have a video where all I said was, PyTorch sucks. No one should use PyTorch. You're an idiot if you use PyTorch. If that was the whole video, I would get like 100,000 subscribers, 20,000 comments. Every time I mention PyTorch, you guys just get so mad. I get so many comments when I talk about PyTorch. So you guys love the hate and I love the hate I get back. You guys are wonderful when it comes to that. It's hilarious. It makes me laugh every time, guys. But like I said, full disclosure, I'm a moderator on the Keras mailing list. I've also contributed to the Keras open source. I actually had something published in Keras. So that's just my bias. I'm a Keras TensorFlow type of guy. It just makes more sense to me. The way the code is, it just makes more sense to me. If you want to use PyTorch, that's fine. You're putting your business out there that you grew up without a father. That's okay. But I use Keras and TensorFlow. That's just me, But I swear, guys, I could have 100,000 subscribers tomorrow because people get so riled up when they hear me talk about PyTorch. I love it. All right, let's get going here. If you're on Instagram, in the chat, there's a pinned comment that has the link to YouTube and it's easier to see, okay? So please switch over to YouTube if you want to see the full screen. All right, guys, so I think this is the key line here. So I'm going to copy this. Let's take this to our terminal. Let me know if the terminal looks okay. I think this is the biggest. I guess I can make it a little bigger. Okay. All right, let's see what happens here. It's possible that my Conda install would be incompatible with some of the libraries that they're looking for, right? Because this looks to be like a repo error. If that's the case, we can go back and follow them from step 1. But let's see what happens here. Condo, it was looking for 1.8 and I have 1.9, so that looks okay. How's the console, guys? Console look okay for you guys? All right, thanks for that feedback, Patrick. Patrick said the console looks great. This sure has taken a long time, so have to see where we end up with this. It wouldn't be a big deal if we have to go back and install MiniForge. That's okay. Patrick says GPU libraries always take forever to install. Yeah, Patrick, but at this point, I think this is still a repo thing, right? It's still looking for a particular repo. We're not even at the library install phase. So like I said, I think this might be related to the Conda versus MiniForge that they recommended. Because if I remember, if I'm reading this right, it's looking for an Apple channel, right? And I don't think that my particular Conda environment supports that Apple channel, or at least it doesn't have knowledge of it, right? So if we go back and do it the way they recommended, I think we would resolve that. But let's let this play out. That's part of the fun, guys. Damilar says, yikes, late to class. Well, glad you're here, man. Glad you made it. Satyam says, I use Google Colab. Google Colab is notebooks based, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that or not, but I think that's notebooks based. Conda versus poetry. I don't know poetry. Conda sucks. Yeah, maybe. I don't get married to these tools, guys. It's just a tool. Just a tool. Looking back at the previous chat, Javier says, I have the audiobook and I recommend everyone either the book or audiobook. Thank you, Javier. I appreciate that. Yeah, the audiobook was super hard to record, guys. Jeez, that's so difficult. But thanks for the support. Mr. Ngodi says, interesting. It's so refreshing to see someone not pushing me to notebooks. Your code is the way. Yeah, look, if you have an expert out there trying to tell you how notebooks are important, that's somebody who's never worked in data science, period. They have never been in an environment working as a professional data scientist, because you just do not use notebooks at the professional level. There's just no other way to put that. Javier says, ChatGPT launched their OL preview and it's supposed to be better for code. Yeah, I've heard that too. But you know what? We've been using ChatGPT 4.0 for all of our classes, and generally speaking, it's done okay. So, let's give it a chance. If we have to switch later, we will. But, it's been doing pretty good. Rex says, yes, Google Colab is Jupyter Notebook Space. Okay, yeah, thanks, Rex. That's what I thought too. Oh, what happened here? Python okay, so we made some progress. So my installed version is 14. My Python is 3.11. Okay, so I guess it's looking for greater than 3.13. That's super interested. That is super interesting, guys. Python version is 3.11, and I guess it's looking for greater than 3.13 if I'm reading that right. But less than 3.14. Okay. Your installed version is 14.5 of what? Of the OS, of OS 10? Is that what it's referring to? OS 10 version is greater than 10.13, greater than 11, yeah. Greater than 1.3, greater than 1.9, greater than 11. All right. Okay. What's interesting here, though, is that if we go back to our ChatGPT, they were recommending Python version 3.9. But it's also possible that the whole MiniForge install is what's throwing us off here, guys. So I think I want to go back and do the MiniForge install from the beginning. I think that's a reasonable way to proceed right now, because I think there's just too many potential dependencies that we're going to get caught up in just because of my personal Conda install as it stands now. So let's do that. All right, so now I'm back to a plain cursor, and I'm going to follow ChatGPT's instructions from the very beginning. Yeah, that's fine to install it there. File directory already exists, MiniForge 3. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that, but yeah, I want to go ahead and update it. Oh. I thought I did do that option. What the heck? Ah, because I did it as part of the curl command. Give me just a second here, guys. There we go. If you wish to update your shell profile to automatically initialize Conda, on Conda startup, change the command prompt and activate it on the base front, be activated in startup, run the following command when Conda is activated. You can do a smart Conda initial, yes, no. I'm okay with that. I'm okay having a base environment. Okay, good. So first part of ChatGPT's recommendation went well. So now it looks like we're just creating a simple environment. I don't know why it's recommending Python 3.9. That seems like a mistake, but we're going to follow them to the T. All right, so this looks like it's installing pip, Python, OpenSSL, fairly standard install. Again, I'm a little pessimistic about the 3.9 install because we clearly saw in the other ones that it was looking for like at least 3.11. So let's see. We can always repeat this later for 3.11. All right. That looks fairly standard. Good. So now let's go ahead and activate it. Activate. All right, so we're working with Apple ML. Let's go back. All right, so we basically have followed the first two steps without any problems. This is the one that gave us a problem, right? So let's see. Okay, it found the channels much quicker this time, right? You guys see this first line here looking for that Apple channel? I think that was screwing us up at first. And look how quickly that came up. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the TensorFlow depths. And yeah, this looks fairly standard. And also, I think the biggest takeaway here is look how it's pulling from an OS 10 ARM64 specific depot, right? And those are all good signs that we're on the right track for the libraries that we need. And it's going to downgrade our SQLite, not a big deal. So I think I'm okay with this. Give me some feedback in the chat if you think I'm missing anything. Wow. That ran flawlessly. That ran with no mistakes. That's crazy. Cool. All right, guys. All right, so now, okay, so now we're going to install the Mac OS and Metal. I was curious why Metal wasn't in our previous list, but I forgot that it's a specific install. Python M pip install. Let's go ahead. We're going to run these one by one, just to be on the safe side. I'm a little curious about this Python precursor. I don't know why we just can't do the pip install. The Python M precursor I'm not familiar with, but maybe there's a reason for it. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of successful installs. Wonderful, wonderful, guys. So now we're further than we were before, right? So it looks like the the Mac specific TensorFlow is now installed. But according to ChatGPT, the Metal one is the one that's actually for the Apple GPU, right? So now we do this one, and this is the one that's M1, Apple M1, Silicon chips, GPU specific. So let's see what that does for us. I'm gonna get to the chat after this, guys, because you guys are asking good questions. Let's just see how this runs right here. Ooh. Could not find a version that satisfies the requirement for TensorFlow Metal from versions none. No matching distribution found for TensorFlow Metal. Oh, wow. Okay. So it looks like ChatGPT might have given us some bad information. It looks like TensorFlow Metal might have been discontinued. If there's no matching distribution, that's not good, right? That means that it might have been discontinued or just no longer exists. I guess it wouldn't surprise me if it was already part of TensorFlow Mac OS. You know what, guys? We could research that further, but I'm tempted to just try this. What do you guys think? Let's just try this. Right? If they discontinued TensorFlow Metal, my guess is the most likely scenario is that they integrated it into the greater TensorFlow library. Right? And then they're just automatically detecting whether you have the GPU or not. Why can't we just try this? I'm gonna do this. So down here, I need to change the environment. The environment is, what do we call it? Apple ML, I think it was. Yeah, here we go. And then it should detect a TensorFlow. Yeah, Apple ML is what it's called, yeah? Yeah, Apple ML. Okay, why is it not detecting the TensorFlow? I think it's just acting weird. So guys, I'm just tempted to run this. The worst, it's going to tell us two things. It'll give us a 1 telling us the GPU is available, or it'll give us a 0 telling us the GPU is not available, right? So there's probably very little harm in running this. So I'm going to try it. So we'll check to make sure our file is there, which it is. So Python GPU. That was strange. Did you guys see that? I had a little pop-up on my screen very quickly and then it went away. What in the world was that? That was wild. And I meant to try one other thing actually. Let me add this. I'm pretty sure this will work. Let's try this revised code. Okay. Do you see that, guys? It knows the CPU is there, but it doesn't know that the GPU is there. So we have TensorFlow installed. We just don't have the access to the GPU yet. And that's okay. So now we're going to go back to ChatGPT and ask it. Okay, well, we know we're using Python 3.9 because that was part of the install. Install TensorFlow Metal from pip. But that is what we tried to do though. Install from Apple's GitHub. Oh, okay, there's an idea. Leo says, have you tried installing pip install TensorFlow Metal? Essentially, yes, right, Leo? I mean, this is an equivalent of that, right? Patrick says they suggest installing just TensorFlow instead of TensorFlow Mac OS. Here are the Apple docs. Oh, is that right, Leo? Now, why are they suggesting that? Are they suggesting that because TensorFlow already has Metal? I think I'm tempted to do the GitHub installation because that supposedly comes straight from Apple. Let's see if that leads us anywhere, guys. Uh-oh. Could not install, could not install. That's a 404, wow. Okay. Kasim says ChatGPT is not updated when it comes to installation. Okay. Try some blogs or something. Well, it looks like Patrick's already looking up the documentation, right? So Patrick, what is the rationale for using just TensorFlow instead of TensorFlow Mac OS? Because that still wouldn't solve our metal, right? The metal problem. Because according to the code, we have TensorFlow working, right? Ah, wait a minute. But this is calling TensorFlow, not TensorFlow Mac OS either, though, right? Ah. That's why this won't resolve. This won't resolve because we didn't install we installed TensorFlow Mac OS. Yeah. It seems like you're running another version or an outdated version. How are you coming to that conclusion, Leo? I mean, we are running another version. We're running TensorFlow Mac OS, not technically TensorFlow. Okay, the rationale is that TensorFlow is newer than TensorFlow Mac OS. All right, let's do it. So we can go back to that same line, right? So here, we're going to do this. This is telling us the requirements are already satisfied, though. They don't run on Python 3.9 anymore. Okay, but that's what ChatGPT recommended, right? Rahul says, I'm going to hate Mac now too. No. One, let's not get frustrated, right? And two, this is not a Mac problem. This is standard Python dependency stuff, guys, right? You're gonna go through this in real world scenarios. This is all standard Python scenario stuff, right? But yeah, no. Everybody calm down. We're gonna get through this. Also, the TensorFlow Metal PyPy page has a table of requirements. Okay, because it's an outdated trained version. Yeah, Leo, but that's not our issue here, right? Our issue here is that we can't access the GPU, right? So, you know, we want to make sure we're solving for the right problem, right? You know, this reminds me of something. I'm not going to name the company. I'm not going to name the guy. But I worked for a very, very large company, international company. Terrible manager. I hated the manager. He was a moron. But the one thing that he did teach me was that read the error message and do what the error message is telling you to do, right? Like, what are you trying to solve for? Like, focus on that. Because when you go down these rabbit holes, You tend to get all like, oh, well, I gotta do this and this, and the manual says it. What does the error say, and what are you trying to solve? Right? Like take out all the noise, and what is it that you're trying to solve? So that's what I'm seeing like in some of the messages here, right? Like, what is the core problem we're trying to solve? We have TensorFlow, we have some working code. So what we're really trying to solve is we're trying to solve the access to the M1, Apple Silicon side, right? So let's focus on that, because that's really what we're trying to solve for here, guys, right? So this isn't a Mac thing, this isn't a Windows thing, it's a Python requirements thing, right? So let's stay focused on it, because you're going to go through this in the real world, guys. I mean, I'm if this had gone smoothly, then there'd be no opportunity to learn from this, right? So let's focus on what it is that we're trying to solve for. Official requirement for Apple for Python is 3.8, but we're on 3.9, right? I'm saying why he's recommending you the Python 3.9. Who's the he? How do you know ChatGPT's male? ChatGPT could be female, man. That's what I was talking about, dependency, but for Windows, it was still easy. You can't say that, Rahul. It all depends on your GPU. You can't say that. I've had tons of problems on Windows, because it's vendor-based, right? So you really can't say that. So let's focus on the problem here. So the rationale is that TensorFlow is newer than TensorFlow macOS. Yeah, okay. But again, that doesn't solve for the metal side of it. What version of macOS do you have? Let me look here real quick. I'm usually pretty good about updating. I have Sonoma 14.5, Patrick. Pretty sure that's the latest. Yassine. Okay, Yassine, I love your thinking. Is the problem that we couldn't install TensorFlow Metal? Can you confirm? Yes. That is the problem, Yassine. It seems like TensorFlow Metal is either no longer supported, and to be clear, but Yassine, it's not that we couldn't install it, it's that it's not found, right? I mean, we went to the GitHub, it got an error 404. And maybe we should start there, guys. Maybe this version is just bad, right? Maybe I just need to go a different version. So that's part of the problem, Yassine, that we basically can't find the GitHub, the Metal library. I disagree, Leo. I disagree. I don't think Python 3.9 is the problem here. Look, guys, there's really not a ton of difference between all of these, Python versions, right? I mean, if you guys go way back with Python was in version 2.7 for like 5 years. Python as a library doesn't really change that much. Don't get caught up in that, right? So I don't see 3.9 as a red flag. No, Yassine. TensorFlow macOS installed just fine. It's the metal part that got us. And actually, that's right. That's another thing we should try. Here's another problem, guys. You see this? It's not resolving to TensorFlow. Because we technically didn't install TensorFlow alone, we installed TensorFlow Mac OS. I'm wondering if that's also part of the problem, but it doesn't seem like that's a supported name either. That doesn't seem to be working either, which is annoying. Actually, no, I'm surprised that doesn't resolve. That's weird. All right, pip install upgrade pip. Okay, I can be on board with that. The only reason I'm not optimistic here, Patrick, is because we're not getting pip errors. We're getting 404 errors, right? So that I'm willing to try it, but I'm not optimistic. All right, so it's telling us we're already on the latest one. Camise says the release download doesn't exist. Are you referring to the GitHub? I was able to install TensorFlow Metal in macOS with M2 Max Chip using Conda and Python 3.9. Try pip install TensorFlow Metal again. Okay. Yeah, Javier, I hear you, and I have a very similar setup, except I have an M1 chip. But, okay, so Javier is saying Conda update all. Okay. All right, let me try Patrick's suggestion one more time. And then we'll try Javier's, because I think that's on the right track, guys. Pip install TensorFlow Metal. Yeah, it's just not finding anything, guys. See, that's not even an install error. That's just saying I don't know what package you're talking about. Conda update, Conda. Conda update, Conda update all. All right, let's try that, Javier. I'm not sure I understand the Conda reference, though. If you want to expand on that, I'd be interested. PyPy, Conda Forge, default, platform, OS. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Did I still make a mistake? All right. Yeah, Patrick and Leo, thanks for handling the mod duties there. All right, Javier. That went through just fine. So I'm guessing we can just try the pip install on the TensorFlow Metal again. Would probably be the next step. Camise, if you want to provide a link to the release page, let me know. I would uninstall TensorFlow and do it again. You may not have a correctly isolated environment, which can cause issues in resolving dependencies. But the process that we went through did create a new environment though, Fatima, right? In fact, we upgraded our mini forge. We did everything, right? So, I mean, we could start with a brand new environment, right? Like an Apple ML2, but what would we do differently there, chat? Because if we go back to our employee ChatGPT, we created the environment, we created it with Python 3.9, and then we installed TensorFlow right after that, right? And we created it specifically from the Apple channels. Right? Or, you know, the Apple depots, right? So I think we are in an isolated environment, but what would you do differently if we were to do that? Anise says, are the dependencies met? Conda install C TensorFlow deps. Yeah, we did. We did, Anise. That install went just fine. Okay, this is the end of the link. The start of the link is the same as before. But you see it as tag alpha 3. TensorFlow Mac OS release. But Camise, is there a release specifically for Metal though? Because we have TensorFlow Mac OS, we don't have Metal. So Camise, I think you're also on the right track. I like where you're headed with this. But remember, TensorFlow Mac OS installed just fine. It was Metal that was the problem. So that's another thing we can try, guys. Let me go back to that command. Okay, Yassine said someone posted the problem on GitHub and said that the problem was fixed by using Python 3.10. Okay. Why? PyPy.org projects, TensorFlow. Can we install directly from the PyPy page? Yeah, maybe. But we are using 3.9, right? But we are using 3.9, you see? That's the problem here. El Barumi asks, what is TensorFlow used for? Yeah, good question. Let's talk about that. So what is TensorFlow? TensorFlow is basically a neural network framework, right? It's a framework that allows you to create neural networks and run neural networks. Very handy. Great framework to know. But we're not just looking to run neural networks. We're looking to run neural networks on a Mac, specifically with the M1 chip, which is a GPU-enabled chip, right? The Apple Silicon version of chips, right? So that's really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to use TensorFlow as our neural network framework, and then we're also trying to run it on the M1 chips. So as it stands right now, you know, and this is good, El Barumi, because this is good for us to kind of take a stance where we're in. As it stands now, we can use TensorFlow, and we can use it on GPU. It recognizes, excuse me, on CPU. It recognizes the CPU, but we're trying to get it to use the GPU, right? So that's really what we're trying to do, right? Okay, so Javier says my TensorFlow Metal went through, downloading the TensorFlow wheel file. From where, Javier? Is that from GitHub? I like Patrick's suggestion. Can we download directly from the PyPy page? We can. I just haven't done that in a while. I think that's also a pip install, right? Because they make wheel files available on pypy.org, don't they? I think. TensorFlow Metal 1.1. We can download the files. Yeah, I think we can do that, and I think it's a. You guys might have to help me here, but I think it's like pip install and then wheel file name, right? And here is the 3.9 version. And we're gonna install it to here, GPU class, code. Yes, we're gonna install it here. All right, so if we go back to our terminal, we're gonna get rid of all this, and let's start from a fresh screen. All right, so we have that file there, guys. So guys, help me out in the chat. I believe it's pip install wheel name, right? Is not a supported wheel on this platform. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen that. Does TensorFlow also have version? Yeah, it does. We already installed it. Remember, guys, TensorFlow works just fine right now, right? It's accessing the GPU is what we're trying to solve for. According to ChatGPT, TensorFlow Metal should take care of that, right? I have been reading some blogs that TensorFlow is not compatible with M1, but that's not 100%. See, it's not built for your architecture. Yeah, but I have that architecture. I have different versions of the Mac OS, right? I don't have C Python, but this was the only TensorFlow Metal. So that's super weird. That is really weird. All right, let me go back to my gut instinct. My gut instinct says that we should check out the Apple GitHub location. Because I think Camise mentioned that I might just have a bad URL, right? So let's do this. What does this give me? I do this. Okay, you can now access GPUs directly with Metal, TensorFlow add-ons. Is TensorFlow macOS master scripts download and install. Okay, that's good. This will verify your system, ask for confirmation, and create a virtual environment for TensorFlow or macOS installed. You can do the releases, installation on Conda. Wow, according to this will create the entire TensorFlow for macOS installed. That does not sound like a bad option. To try this quickly. But that doesn't speak to Metal, it just speaks to TensorFlow for Mac. Native hardware, so an M1 Max. So that sounds positive. And then the latest release is Alpha 3. I don't think that's what ChatGPT gave us. What did ChatGPT give us? They gave us Alpha 1. Interesting. So it's possible that it couldn't find Alpha 1, but that it'll find Alpha 3? Camille says, Python says, yes, infos are there. Go to the one without release. You see the notes as well. ChatGPT is just up. Yeah, let's not focus on criticism. Let's focus on solutions, right? Is the above thing you're looking for the Metal part? Yeah, that is a part of it. But I'm really optimistic about this too, right? This looks interesting. But yeah, if we want to learn Metal here, get started with TensorFlow Metal, install base TensorFlow, install TensorFlow macOS, install. Yeah, but these are the same things we followed, right? Oh, that's interesting. It actually gives us a TensorFlow script. That's pretty cool. But look, aren't these the same instructions that we followed earlier? I think it is, right? So Camise, I think that this is an interesting script here, but I'm not seeing the difference between what we've already done. To ChatGPT's credit, these are the same instructions they gave us before. And this worked just fine. It was this one that failed, right? Leo says, I just installed TensorFlow Metal 1.1. All right, guys, I am tempted to go with the Apple version. Or the Apple instructions here, and try this. This seems promising. And we can always come back to this other environment, right? There's nothing stopping us from coming back to the Apple ML environment. So let's do that. All right, so we're back here and we're gonna go ahead and run this. No current job, what? Doesn't need. Or we could just get rid of everything before the curl. All right, Leo says created a Conda environment version Python 3.11, installed both TensorFlow Metal and Mac OS. You mean TensorFlow Mac OS, right? Runs just fine. Okay. All right. So look, you're the second person who recommended using Beyond 3.11. Okay. So maybe, Yassine, I think Yassine mentioned that also, right? So let's try it. Let's try the 3.11 then. I mean, if you got it to work in the same time, then there's no reason to go against that. And we can still reuse some of the previous commands. So we're gonna name it Apple ML2. Oh, right. And you said 3.11. Okay. All right, Leo. We're banking on you, my friend. And by the way, guys, it sounds like some of you are new to Conda, which is okay. But this is a really good example of why you want to use Conda. Conda Conda is a tool for virtual environments. What you really want to do is you want to create virtual environments in your work. That way you can separate the libraries and dependencies for every project you have. As you can see, there's a lot of variety to what you're going to need, right? So that's why a tool like Conda and virtual environments exists. I want to make sure there's a difference there, because Conda is not the only way you can create virtual environments, right? But you're seeing it in action why you would want to do this. You want to have different silos so that your programs and dependencies and libraries live completely apart from one another, okay? Very important to be using environments. All right, so we got our Apple ML2. So you're saying that you did everything else just the way that that ChatGPT told us to, right? Because the next one we did was to well, hold on a second. Did you do pip installs, Leo? Or how did you do it? Like just pip install TensorFlow? Or no, you did Mac OS. TensorFlow Metal, TensorFlow Mac OS. Okay, I'm assuming that you did TensorFlow first, right? Pip install TensorFlow Mac OS, yeah. You know, I love these human versus AI battles, right? Because if Leo's right on this, then it's gonna make ChatGPT look really bad, right? So Leo, you might be our hero today. Okay, that looks good. So, by the way, guys, what's jumping out at me is you can see that it imported Keras, TensorFlow, and TensorFlow macOS, right? I mean, TensorFlow and Keras shouldn't surprise us, right? Those programs are very closely tied together. And then the macOS side is specific to Mac, right? So nothing surprising there, and it looks like these were all successful. They were. Okay, so now we do TensorFlow Metal. Yeah. Oh, this is further, guys. It installed it. It installed it, guys. Leo, you're the man. You're the man, Leo. Actually, credit to both Leo and Yassine. Yassine did suggest going to 3.1. I didn't think it was the greatest idea, so that's on me. So credit to both Yassine and Leo for coming up with that. Good job, guys. And the humans beat the AI, right? ChatGPT did not recognize that. Leo says, I deserve a raise. Okay, Leo, instead of one pat on the back, you get 2 pats on the back, okay? All right. So now we're ready to go back to our code. Because look, we've only installed it. We haven't verified that this works, right? The first thing we got to do is we got to change this. We are now using Apple ML2. Is it going to recognize it? It does not recognize it yet. It doesn't recognize it yet, but it will. But I don't think we need to change this code at all. All right. So, but yeah, I see no reason why we can't run this GPU initiate code. All right, guys, so this is the moment of truth. Now we can see if we can access it or not. So ls. And it's going to be Python, GPU. All right, so we're looking for it to tell us that we have 1 GPU and 1 CPU. That's the win here, guys. Gosh, there's that pop-up again. Pop-ups always scare me with these things. I mean, that's like a virus sign, right? Ooh, we did it, guys. We did it. Good job. Good job, chat. That's it. You see that? We now have a GPU available to us, guys. Awesome. Good job, guys. That is awesome. We have a GPU, guys. So if you remember, we were getting 0 GPU, 1 CPU, which is to be expected, right? But now we're getting 1 GPU and 1 CPU. So this is great, guys. We did it. We did it. So credit to Leo and credit to Yassine. Good job, guys. And credit to the humans, right? ChatGPT stunk today. All right. Good job, guys. So because I'm not so high on ChatGPT right now, I like this code that was shown by Apple. Apple even had its own little neural network that it was showing as an example. Yeah, look at this. So look at this, guys. This looks really nice. So I am tempted to just take this and run it. So now we're going to need a new file, and this is going to be our metrics GPU file. And is this still not recognizing ML2? It refuses to recognize ML2, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. But guys, if this code on the screen doesn't, excuse me, let me bring that up again. If this doesn't look familiar to you, this is fairly standard neural network code in Keras using TensorFlow. So this discussion probably goes beyond the scope of what I want to cover with you today, because today the modeling is just kind of like a tool to get to the metrics, right? So just know that what you're seeing on the screen is a fairly standard, kind of like base neural network example, right? It's using one of the built-in data sets because, Keras and TensorFlow have, sample data sets built in. It's breaking it up into our train test. It's fitting the model. It's using an atom optimizer. It's using one of the built-in models. In this case, it's the ResNet 50, or you can build out your own model, right? So, we can talk about this at some other point, but that's what you should just know, right? That we're just using the model to basically run processing cycles. We're going to run some on GPU, we're going to run some on CPU, and that's basically the only difference, okay? All right. So I think we're okay to run this. I'm pretty sure that Keras and TensorFlow by default will give us metrics to output. We don't need any print statements. The model fit itself will generate the information we need. Do we declare the number of epochs? We do. We're declaring 5 epochs. So remember how I was talking about how we're going to need a big model? We can mess around with the number of epochs because number of epochs have a significant effect on your processing time, right? So we can do that later. But for right now, just as a base, let's go ahead and run this. All right, so. Oh, wow. GPU ID could not identify NUMA node of platform GPU ID 0, defaulting to 0. Your kernel may not have been built with NUMA support. Okay. Plugin optimizer for device type GPU is enabled, which is good. That is just taking a long time for the first epoch, but I guess it's because it's prepping the data. Wow, that is terrible performance. So, guys, I am watching this here. This tells you how long each step is taking. And this is taking 4 seconds per step. We are on a single step. So in other words, this is going to take 782 times 4 seconds to finish one epoch. That is awful. That is awful performance. But I'm seeing warnings, but not necessarily errors, so I believe it is using the GPU at this point. But this is not good performance, guys. Pankaj says data size looks huge. What makes you say that, Pankaj? Let me know about that. What makes you say that? Leo says that's crazy. Yeah. We can mess with that a little bit, right? But that's still not great. And by the way, when I say not great, I mean also not great for the stream, right? Because obviously we're not going to be here for all 5 epochs. That would be crazy, right? So while we're going to let this run a little bit, guys, okay? And I want you guys to monitor both of these because this tells us how long one epoch's going to take and how many seconds per step. So here's what I want to do next. What I want to do next is I want to go back and I want to create a brand new environment. And this time, we're just going to install TensorFlow. We're not going to install Metal because we do not want to use the GPU in the next iteration. We want to strictly use CPU, right? So I think we can avoid that, just judging by our architecture, we can avoid that by just doing the TensorFlow install, but not the Metal install, right? So I want to do that. And then the metric we're going to have to use are these 2 metrics. Because we're obviously not going to sit here and wait for the next, 4 hours to finish 5 epochs, right? That's not reasonable. But we can go here, right? Because this is a fairly good projection of where we're headed. Because this is basically telling me that this model for this one training cycle is going to take about 5 hours. 4 hours. 4 hours for the 5 epochs that we chose, right? So let's use that as a baseline, right? 4 hours. 4 hours is what this model would take on GPU. Not a perfect baseline, all right? I get it. But again, I'm trying to run a stream here, right? I'm not going to keep you guys on here just so we can watch numbers go up, right? So let's keep that in mind, right? Yashin says, you still using TensorFlow? Yeah, sure, yeah, Yashin. Yeah, guys, by the way, if you're not familiar with this already, what you're seeing here is a standard TensorFlow output, right? Because the TensorFlow shows you how it's progressing in training the model. So when it comes to neural networks, you have this concept of epochs, right? And those epochs is basically like a relearning of the model, where you're pushing data through the model and the model learns from that. And then it starts all over based on the existing knowledge and learns again and learns again and learns again. In this case, we chose 5 epochs, right? So it's the process that a model goes through. So yeah, I mean, to a trained eye, this is clearly a TensorFlow output, right? This is totally standard for TensorFlow as far as it shows you how it's progressing. So what you're seeing here is it's telling you that there's 782 total steps to go through for each epoch. And we're going one step at a time because you can see this climbing one step at a time. And this is telling me that each step is taking 3 seconds. So this here is the estimated amount of time left for this one epoch. And we chose 5 epochs. So this epoch is going to take approximately 40 minutes to finish. 40 minutes times 5 epochs is 200 minutes. So, 3.5, 4 hours is what this one training cycle is going to take, right? But again, we're not trying to, be on a stream for the next 5 hours just to watch some numbers go up. But yes, I'm answering the question in case you guys don't know, have never used TensorFlow, have never used neural networks maybe. This is a totally standard TensorFlow output, okay? Camille says, how fast should it go? We don't know, right? Presumably this is going to be faster than a CPU instance, right? We're about to find out, right? Because what I want to do, so what I want to do, guys, is I want to kill this, and then I want to switch this to CPU, right? So the underlying theory here, guys, is that just using CPU, this is going to just be, in theory, it should be a lot worse than what we're seeing now, right? We'll probably see, like, I don't know, I'm guessing, like 10 seconds a step, right? These numbers will be the same. It's going to be the same amount of data. We're still going to be stepping by one, right? And this number here is like the time to finish, essentially, right? So I have a feeling that number is going to be massive, because remember, right now we're using GPU, but on CPU, in theory, it should be slower, right? So let's find out. So somebody keep these in mind, okay? 3 seconds per step, and the time remaining is 35. We started with about 40, right? So let's just say it was going to take 40 minutes per epoch, 200 minutes for the entire training cycle. We'll use that as our baseline. All right, agreed? Everybody good with that? So we're going to stop, and we're going to start some things all over again, guys. Yeah, I'm seeing some ideas for disabling the GPU. We could certainly do that, but I rather do it as a, we're scientists here, right? So the cleanest test is to do it in a completely other environment. Same code, but completely different environment. That's what I want. That's what I want to do here. So yeah. So first thing we gotta do is we gotta deactivate this. Oh, what am I doing? All right, so we know that our Apple ML2 works, but now we're going to create a brand new environment. Yep, conda create 311. So this time it's going to be called Apple ML CPU. So guys, same instructions. Oh, shoot. That's okay. I can reactivate it. So same instructions. We're going to go through the same installs, but this time we're not going to do the TensorFlow Metal install. We still need TensorFlow, but we don't need Metal because we're not intending to access the GPU. Okay, so that's where I made a mistake. So conda deactivate, and then conda activate Apple ML CPU. All right, so this is our CPU, and we're gonna do the same thing we did before. Install TensorFlow macOS. So again, if you're not familiar with environments, this is why you do them, because now we know we have a completely clean environment, right? And that way we can say that even though it's the same code, we're running it in completely different places. So it's different dependencies, different performance. So Rahul says my GPU also took this speed, 8.8 seconds per step. Oh wow, so your GPU did even worse, huh? And that was on GPU. Let me bring that up. Sorry. So Rahul, you were doing 8 seconds per step. Wow, that's slow, man. And you're sure that was GPU, yeah? Because that's what I'm expecting right now for CPU. All right, so we got TensorFlow. So now we're gonna do the same thing we did before, guys. All right, so let me know in the chat. Participation time, right? Remember how we did our GPU initiate previously? And that's what it told us what processors were available. What are you guys expecting to see when I run this code right now? How many GPUs are you expecting and how many CPUs are you expecting? Camille says it's a large data set and large network, so I guess this is fine. That's not true. We don't know that, right? We can't say that. You can't make a judgment call, right? It's all relative to each other. So you have to accept your baseline and then compare to that. So we can't say whether it's fine or not. We don't have enough information for that, right? Part of the scientific process is to say, we don't know, right? Let's find out. And that's what we're doing, right? That's what we're doing the experiments. Okay, so Patrick, 0 GPU, 1 CPU. Yassine is saying 0 and 1. Yeah, you guys got it. Yeah, right? Because we didn't install metal, right? Okay, okay, I love this. Camille is saying, I'm guessing 200 seconds per step. Yeah. Okay, guys, let's get some guesses going in the chat, right? So, what do you guys think? We saw that in GPU, it was roughly 4 seconds a step, 3 seconds a step, 40 minutes per epoch, so 200 minutes for the whole thing. What do you guys think? Let's start doing some guesses. So our first guess, Camille says 200 seconds per step. Maybe. Who's to say it's not 200 seconds? Maybe. So give me some guesses, guys. And by the way, you can see here, 0 GPUs, 1 CPU available. That's exactly what we want, right? We've created a new isolated environment. We're gonna run the same code, same neural network, but CPU, right? Yassine says, I have high hopes for CPU. Okay, we got Team CPU forming. Who else is on Team CPU? That's hilarious. Who else is on Team CPU? Yeah. Mad lad. Yeah, that's appropriate. Patrick says 40 seconds per step. Maybe. So Yassine, you got to give us a number, my friend. Yassine, give us a number, because so far it's between 40 and 200. That's quite a range, guys. Come on, who wants to do that? Team GPU always. Nice, Rahul. Okay, we got team CPU over here and team GPU over here, guys. I wouldn't bet for MacBook Air CPU. Okay. You don't even need another environment to deactivate CPU. Yassine. We are scientists, my friend. Scientists seek the cleanest test possible. Yes, you're right. And I saw that comment earlier, right? But that's not the cleanest test possible because you still have those libraries there. The cleanest test is to have completely separate environments. And I said that from the beginning. I said we would create separate environments, separate code files. That's the cleanest test possible, right? We still got to adhere to, a good process, right? Oh, Camise is going with 500 seconds per step. Anise is saying 100 seconds per step. Hashtag Team GPU. That's hilarious. Yassine is saying 30 seconds a step. Okay, guys. Wow. So look, even at 30 seconds per step, you're saying it's going to be like 10x less or 10x worse than GPU, right? You're saying like it's 9 to 10x is the difference? Wow, guys. I mean, who said 200 seconds? Somebody said 200 seconds, right? Oh, Camille said that earlier, but who else said it? 100 per step. 100 per step would be 25x. You think CPU is going to do 25x worse? Wow. Wow. Okay, guys. You know, I'm trying to think about my own guess. I'm guessing like 10 seconds per step. Yeah, because 10 seconds per step is like 2x worse. Yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm going to go with 10 seconds a step. I mean, because I've done a lot of powerful stuff with CPU. You know, CPU isn't always as bad as you think, right? Now, I will concede that we're doing images here, right? So GPU has like an extra advantage here, but I don't know, guys. You know, CPUs are not that terrible, right? I mean, like I started earlier, right? Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do data science because you don't have a GPU, right? Camille says, I'm not even sure whether the batch size will work out. We're about to find out. But the batch, I don't anticipate the batch sizing being a problem. I think it's just going to be slow. All right, anybody else? Last questions or last guesses for the performance before we run the code. Anybody else? No more guesses, huh? Let me get some water here. Give you guys some time. Camille says suspense. Yeah, you know, you gotta let it build up. You gotta let it build up. All right, Fatima says 40 seconds per step. Maybe. That's 10x. You think it's gonna be 10x worse? Okay. Rahul says 10 to 15. Yeah, Rahul, I'm feeling that range. I'm feeling that range, Rahul. Pankaj says 2,000 seconds plus, maybe. I mean, who's to say it's not going to be that terrible, right? I mean, we're all just guessing. All right, let's do this, guys. So now it's going to be the same code. Oh, wait, shoot. I didn't create a new file, did I? Shoot. I guess I could use the same file. But no, I said we're going to run the cleanest test possible, didn't I? Yeah, it's gonna be the exact same, but I need to follow my own advice because maybe we might want to change it in the future. So this one is going to be metrics CPU. All right, guys, here we go. Would it be cleaner to run the same file? No, it wouldn't. That's why I created a new one. One question, sir. Will CPU take image serialized or as tensors matrix? I don't know. Does anybody in the chat know the answer to that? I definitely do not consider myself a computer vision specialist. What the heck? Wow. Wow. Yeah, Uno reverse is right. Yeah, who said 2,000 seconds? Oh my gosh, what an unexpected result, guys. And by the way, you guys will notice that we didn't get any GPU alerts, right? So we're running on CPU, right? We verified it with our code, And this time we didn't get the same GPU warnings. So we are running on CPU here, guys. All indications are that this is CPU. Babe, I lost the house. Yeah, pretty much. Everybody did, right? Nobody guessed faster, right? Nvidia is a bum. Apple true scam artist. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, we're gonna make Apple stock drop on Monday, guys. Yeah, right here, we're making Apple stock drop. That's hilarious. Guys, this is crazy. This is crazy. Comments are killing me. Yeah, well, this is fun. I have same speed on Nvidia. Well, that's right, Rahul, right? And you were getting like similar steps that we were, right? We were getting 4 seconds. I think you said 6 seconds, 8 seconds, right? Yeah, Camise, you're right. It's not Nvidia. This is Apple Silicon, but we were in the ballpark with Rahul, right? Like we weren't too far off with Rahul. So, you know, I think Rahul's statements are still valid, right? Where, you know, we can still do semi-comparison, right? But I mean, look, guys, nobody thought it'd be faster. Jeez. But guys, you know, maybe this reinforces my previous statement, right? Don't let CPU stop you. All those influencers, whatever. I've worked in plenty of environments where CPU is the only thing available to you. Right? So don't let it hold you back. Keep on working. Look at this. We're going to finish this epoch in like 10 minutes. GPU was telling us 40 minutes. Anise, I love your statement. I couldn't agree with you more. I conclude the following: never underestimate the power of CPU. Yeah, I mean, you are 100% right. You're 100% right. Rahul says it took me 8 seconds. Yeah, but Rahul, I think you're talking 8 seconds per step, right? Because that's the little metric you gave earlier, which is, you know, not completely out of line with what we were getting earlier, what we were getting, right? So, yeah, I mean, this is not looking good for GPU, guys. Karthi, sometimes you need to turn up the audio on your phone on Instagram, or feel free to join us on YouTube. I have the link pinned, and it's a little easier to see the entire screen there, okay? Rahul, you were getting 8 seconds per epoch? You sure about that, Rahul? Was it the same neural network or another neural network? If it was like another, like a quantitative neural network, I could see 8 seconds per epoch. But let us know more about that, Rahul. Your previous stuff said 8 seconds per step. Javier, thank you for this. I tried another neural network with CPU and GPU, and CPU was much faster. Okay. Yeah, well, Javier, that's interesting. And we're obviously seeing that here, right? And keep in mind, guys, this is the neural network that Apple recommends in their documentation. That's where we got this, right? I saw that and I thought, oh, you know, that seems like a reasonable thing to do it, right? So this is Apple's recommendation. Did you already know this is going to happen? Are you surprised? I'm surprised. Guys, I did not prepare for this at all. Like I told you guys, I was nervous because I didn't even know if we were going to get the GPU access, because I know that there's, a couple of things you have to do, right? But no, I'm totally surprised. Now, I know that I've worked on plenty of projects on CPU. I know CPU is powerful, right? I use it as a barometer. When somebody tells me, oh, no, you got to do data science on GPU, I instantly know they haven't worked in data science ever, because it's a fallacy. You can do a lot on CPU, right? So I knew those things coming into this, but no, I did not think this was going to happen. Like I said, I guessed 10 seconds per step. I thought it was going to be 2x worse. I didn't think it was going to be better. This is what? This is 400% better, right? So no, I'm definitely surprised by this. Leo says, I think a valid next step would be to determine what models and task CPUs perform better than GPU. Yeah, I agree, Leo, but again, this is Apple's recommendation, right? I copy and pasted from Apple's documentation. This is their neural network, right? So yeah, I hear you. That I love that you're thinking about next steps, right? Because a good research study always ends with next steps. So I hear you on that. But I just think it's ironic that we are using Apple's own recommendation and it completely stinks, right? So I just think that part's funny. But yes, I agree with you. You're on the right track as far as next steps. What is Javier? What's the 519? Is that microseconds? Or help me understand your units there. You're saying 5 milliseconds for GPU, 519 microseconds? Leo says, today we killed 2 myths. LLMs don't know everything and GPUs can be overrated. Leo, that's a beautiful summary. Beautiful summary. Installing TensorFlow right now, but my GPU is old, so let's see. Yeah, but Camille, so is mine, right? Mine's an M1 from 2020. Let me see if I can bring that up, if it's safe to show that to you guys. I don't think there's anything. There's a serial number on here. But look, I'm looking at my Mac. It's Mac Mini M1 2020. The chip is an Apple M1. And by the way, guys, I know that this is an early one because the reason I bought this Mac Mini is because when Mac first came out, if you go back and look at them, when the M1s first came out, they would offer you an M1 chip or an Intel chip. And nobody knew what the M1 was, so people were choosing the Intel. So they would deeply discount the M1s just to get a foothold in the market. So I remember that I bought this because like the Intel was like, I don't know, like $500, but the M1 was like $200. So they made it super attractive to get it. So I know that because I bought it because it was, it was cheap, because this was all like during the pandemic and stuff, right? So I'm positive that this is an early one because it was a period where they were offering both Intel and M1. Now you can only get an M1, but it was like their first big rollout, but they were competing against Intel. So I'm positive that this is like an old M1 chip. That doesn't make it any less relevant though, right? Any chance this test is biased? Yeah, Leo, again, I love what you're thinking, Zap, because as scientists, we should be thinking about that. So a couple things that I see, right? One, maybe on the M3, which is their latest generation, we would get different results. That's a possibility. Two, maybe a different framework like PyTorch, would do that. But, I'm not gonna sully my reputation by saying I use PyTorch. Ugh. And then also Javier said, well, maybe different problems do better on GPU, right? That's definitely worth exploration, right? You know, maybe an NLP problem would do better. I don't know. I'm not optimistic on that because I've done a ton of NLP on CPU, you know, and it does very well. But you have to run the test. You don't know, right? So yeah, maybe. Well, yeah, Javier, I know what a microsecond is, but it doesn't make sense the way you wrote it, dude. But yeah, so you were getting the same results then. Camise, we've been over that. I'm not going to sully my reputation by talking more about that. Pankaj says, please increase the batch size for GPU. We need to fully utilize it. I disagree. Right? Because the processing amount is the same. Just because you cut it up in different ways, it's still the same, right? It would just make the steps take longer. That's all you'd be doing, right? You'd have fewer steps, but the steps would take longer and the epochs, you know, would be relatively similar. So I disagree with that, Pankaj. Leo says maybe for graphic problems. But this is a graphic problem, right? The ResNet, you know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the ResNet 50 is an image data set, right? We torch the PyTorch here, Kimmy's. Thank you, Rahul. I appreciate it. Yes, please refer all future PyTorch questions to my spokesperson, Rahul, please. He'll fill you in. Thank you, Rahul. My press secretary, Rahul. Thank you so much, Rahul. That's hilarious. Yeah, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that, but ResNet 50 is an image algorithm. And again, guys, this is Apple's example. This is copy paste. What you're seeing on your screen right now is copy paste from the Apple documentation. So this is Apple's example for you on how to access the GPU. That speaks volumes to me. I don't know about you guys, but that speaks volumes to me. Right? I mean, that's pretty crazy, all things considered, right? Rahul says it is an image data set. Yeah, okay, thank you, Rahul. I thought so. Yeah, but thank you for that. But guys, what an unexpected result, right? I mean, we're approaching Epoch 2 now, right? And I anticipate that Epoch 2 is going to give us relatively the same metrics, right? No reason to believe that the metrics would change. Crazy, guys. But yeah, I think we have identified some next steps, right? M3 chip, different framework, and different types of problems, right? ChatGPT gave some ideas as to why. Wait a minute. Are we trusting ChatGPT right now, though, guys? Like, you know, ChatGPT kind of sort of let us down today, right? Like, you know, if we're being honest, the humans beat AI today, right? So I don't know, right? GPU parallel processing is very fast, but bottleneck is copying data from GPU RAM to GPU cache. Transferring data between CPU and GPU memory can introduce latency. Okay, guys, so that's another thing. That's a fourth thing to consider, right? I don't have a lot of RAM in this machine, right? Or maybe the GPU RAM or cache is also undersized in the M1 chip, right? Maybe it's different in the M3 chips, right? So yes, RAM could be another reason, right? Now, having said that, would it account for such a big difference? Because remember, right now, CPU is performing 400% better, right? Is RAM? Are you going to chalk up RAM to a 400% difference? Maybe, maybe not. Right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Rahul says ChatGPT is a blind friend who tells us this girl is beautiful. Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, Rahul. Pretty much, right? You You know what's interesting, guys? I think I might have shared this before, but my assessment of working with ChatGPT also is that it's not smart enough to tell you no. So I've been using the YouTube API for some of the content that I do. And I've had it write code for me in the YouTube API. And I've had situations where it'll give me code, the code doesn't work, and then I'll go look up the parameters that it told me it's adjusting or to set. I'll go look those up in the documentation, and the parameters don't exist. It has hallucinations on parameters. Like it'll just make up parameters. Instead of saying, hey, what you wanted to do can't be done, it'll literally just make up a parameter and say, oh yeah, you just set this parameter. So it's having a hallucination instead of saying no, or I don't know how to do that, or you can't do that, right? So that's what I'm also kind of reminded of today, where it's not smart enough to tell us, well, here's what I know, but maybe you want to adjust this, or it has to be on this version, right? Like for example, today, it telling us to use 3.9 was essentially a hallucination. It makes sense. Like why wouldn't it work on 3.9? Or why wouldn't this parameter exist in the YouTube API, right? But it's not smart enough to tell you, wait a minute, hold on a second, that might be wrong. So I think that's something that's also like a baked in flaw into ChatGPT and probably all of the other LLMs, right? Right? I mean, it takes a certain amount of knowledge to be able to say no, right? Javier says some TensorFlow operations are not GPU accelerated and will run on the CPU even when using a GPU. Okay, I'm on board with that, but was that the case today though, Javier? Because again, we're talking about a 400% difference, right? So, and also, I mean, from the beginning, I told you guys, I was like, wow, 4 seconds a step is a lot. Wouldn't it have been better than 4 seconds a step? You know, just on its own, right? Just, you know, put aside what we're seeing here with CPU. But 4 seconds a step is not great, right? So the way I'm reading your message, it would have used CPU to accelerate itself, so we should have seen better than 4 seconds a step, right? So if I'm misunderstanding you, let me know in the chat. But like, I agree with your premise, but I'm not sure if we saw that today. 4 seconds a step is nothing to be excited about, right? Camille says maybe ChatGPT is shy and can't enforce boundaries. Yeah, exactly. So bringing it all together, ChatGPT is our shy, blind friend who has no boundaries and tells us the girl is beautiful. So yeah, you're right. That's hilarious. Can we check GPU utilization somehow? Well, we verified that we did use the GPU overall. The amount of utilization we did not get to, right? And honestly, I'm not sure if the M1 allows that, or if, you know, Apple Silicon overall allows that. I'm not sure it does. So I'm not sure we can get an answer there, Pankaj. Good question though. For NVIDIA, do we use CUDA? Would that be a case? I think you do, but again, I think that's vendor dependent, right? Like how you actually initialize the GPU is, it's completely dependent on that, right? So maybe. Elliot, welcome. I think this might be your first time. Elliot, we've already run those tests. So what you're seeing here is this is the CPU results that are up on the screen right now. We already did the GPU, and the GPU was about 400% worse than this. Okay, But thanks for joining. All right, guys. Lots of interesting results today. Lots of interesting results. Lots to think about. Lots to really process here. Feel free to add your thoughts in our Discord. If you're not familiar with our Discord, you should be. It's a great resource where we have a lot of people joining. Oh, look, we've had quite a few people join today. Geez, what is it? That's 8 different people joining today, which is great. So if you guys want to continue this conversation, I totally encourage you to do that. Please join the Discord, put them in there. Let's keep the conversation going, guys. Let's keep the conversation going after this. That's why I created the Discord. So, we can talk beyond the live streams. And hey, not all the answers need to come from me, right? You guys can, I love the community helping each other. And then also, we have a good guy like Leo here in the chat. Leo is also trying to head up one of the channels for competitions. So if you want to get into competitions, you're looking for a partner, you want to share your ideas, Discord is the place to do it. So, or who knows, maybe after this session, you want to say, oh, I tried this GPU and it did this, so on and so forth, right? Keep the conversation going. That's why the Discord is there. Afreen, how do we join? If one of the mods, I'm sure will put the link in the chat, please. Or no, I think I did it already. It should be pinned. It should be pinned in the YouTube chat, Afreen. I think you're on YouTube. But yeah, please go ahead and do that. Really good discussion, guys. Really surprising results, right? All of us lost, right? None of us said it would be better. Jeez, right? But thank you so much for all your participation. Lots of really fun stuff here. Really good people today. And you know what? I want to keep on doing these Sunday tutorials. I really enjoy this stuff. And I'm really glad that we worked through these problems, chat. Good job. The humans beat AI today, which is fantastic. So thank you so much. Yeah, and let's just keep the conversation going. Lots of crazy stuff going on around the world. So please take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and I'll see you next time.